tempo. No more pressure, no more insinuations, no more fantasies of annexation. The Prime Minister of Greenland is pleading with the US to stop making territorial threats over the island as Washington's military intervention in Venezuela reignites fears for the autonomous Danish territory. Donald Trump is once again claiming that the mineral-rich Arctic island needs to come under American control as an issue of national security, prompting Copenhagen to warn that the US president should be taken seriously. Emerald Maxwell has the latest.
As the Trump administration appeared to warm to the idea of annexing Greenland, the Danish Prime Minister sharpened her rhetoric.
We saw the US take control of Venezuela in just a few hours. What will Denmark do if the Americans do something similar?
Well, if the US chooses to attack another NATO country, then everything stops. I can't account for what the Americans do, but I can account for what we do from the Danish and European side. And of course, there is full support from the rest of Europe when it comes to the kingdom and the Danish realm, that the borders must, of course, be respected.
The diplomatic spat between the two NATO allies was reopened by this tweet of Greenland filled in with the US flag and the word soon. The image was posted by the wife of the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. But on Sunday, Donald Trump doubled down on the theme.
Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
Semi-autonomous Greenland is on the shortest route for missiles between Russia and the United States, and Washington has a military base there. The Arctic territory is also rich in rare earth minerals. Denmark says it's already working with Washington to boost security in the Arctic. And Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen has also told Trump to back off.
For more on what's at stake for Greenland, let's bring in Frédéric Mauro, lawyer and specialist in defence matters and associate researcher at the IORIS. Thanks so much for being with us on the programme. Frédéric, first of all, after what we've seen in Venezuela this weekend, how real is the risk that Donald Trump might attempt to annex Greenland? The Prime Minister there saying they're actually preparing for the possibility that it could happen overnight, as they put it.
Yeah, the short answer is we don't know. We should stop trying to understand the acts of Donald Trump, because its main strength is incoherence. So we should not take it as granted. It can be a bluff or it can be a commitment. The willingness from the US to acquire Greenland is very old. It goes back to 1867. There have been several attempts to acquire the Greenland, but now it's really something. And the Union, first of all, we should recall that the Union as such has no power in foreign affairs. So it's first of all a matter of foreign affairs in the hands of the member states. So first of all is to the Denmark to say exactly what he wants. But if the US would attack, that would be the end, like the Danish Prime Minister of Denmark said. That would be the end of NATO, and probably a big failure between the EU and the US.
Yeah, because how would NATO be likely to react to such a move if Donald Trump were to move on Greenland?
Well, that nobody knows, because formally it will be an attack against one member, but the reaction should escalate to the NAC, the NATO Atlantic Council. But the main ally, the main power in NATO is the US. So what happens if the main ally becomes the main hostile? Nobody knows. It's something that even in sci-fi we did not expect.
And for Donald Trump, do you think then that any potential economic gains would be worth the breach with a NATO ally? He's been critical previously of the alliance. And how expensive would it be, do you think, for the US to exploit the natural resources on the island?
Well, that makes sense from a U.S. point of view, because after the takeover of the Venezuelan oil reserves, taking the hand on the rare earth of the Greenland would make sense. I think that Donald Trump would be tempted to do it if it's fast, if he's dominant, and if the whole action is containable. If the European member states show a resolve in defending Greenland, that will complexify the calculus for Donald Trump. So maybe they should really think about making some action of resolve to be firm and not to allow a hostile takeover of Greenland.
But how do you think that European leaders would actually respond if that were to happen? Would they be prepared to actually take a stand? Because many, including the British Prime Minister, they appear eager at the moment to play a balancing act over the situation in Venezuela. Would it be very different if this were Greenland?
To be frank, they are working on eggshells, because for the moment their main preoccupation, their main security concern is not Greenland, is Ukraine, of course, because they think that they are threatened by Russia. And the problem is that they need absolutely the US to contain Russia. And that is exactly the reason why they capitulated on the trade war with the US, which they should not have done, because they are as strong as the US with regards to trade. But with regard to security, that will be very complicated. So they should react very firmly, maybe recalling their ambassadors, very, very strongly. I think that would be my advice.
And Frédéric, do you think that the manner, sorry for cutting across you, do you believe that the manner in which European leaders are reacting and responding to what's happening in Venezuela, will that embolden Donald Trump to perhaps think more seriously about moving on Greenland?
Not at the moment. The short answer is not at the moment. Few leaders have been very, very firm. The French president has been a little bit ambiguous about it. Ursula von der Leyen has no power on foreign affairs. The Chancellor, the German Chancellor Merz, was very ambiguous about it. It said, Venezuela is a complex legal affair that we must investigate. That is not a clear answer. And the British Prime Minister said that he will have to consult the allies. So that is not a clear answer. Not to mention the leaders that want to play their own game, like the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni or Viktor Orban, who want to be Donald Trump's best friend forever. So that is really complicated. The only solutions for the European is to keep calm and stay united. Is there a union that will deter Donald Trump to do anything against Greenland? If we leave Denmark alone, that will be done. He will do something, obviously. But European leaders must be much, much more vocal on defending the European territory, if not the Union's territory.
And Frédéric, when Trump threatens Greenland like this, do you think he's sending a message to Europe, though, or are these comments more about sending a warning to China and Russia, who he mentioned again at the weekend, saying Greenland was covered with Russian and Chinese ships?
No, I think that is mainly addressed to the Europeans. He is preparing as we say in French, il prépare le terrain. He is preparing the land for intervention, exactly as he did with Venezuela. All his actions can be performative or threatening or escalating, all that in the same time. He is very, very ambiguous. Once again, its main strength is incoherence. We should stop asking what is the Trump doctrine. There is nothing such as the Donald Trump doctrine. Maybe there are people around him that have a doctrine, and maybe this doctrine is age-long in the history of the US. But he has not any doctrine. He is like a shark. He's flaring the weakness of his adversary. So once again, if he can go fast, and if he can contain the action, if he's sure to be dominant to take over the Greenland, he will do it. Exactly like Putin, and it is exactly the same kind of animal than Vladimir Putin.
Frédéric, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thanks so much for being with us, though, on the programme. That is lawyer and
pleasure.
specialist in defence matters, Frédéric Mauro.